Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, one half of the team over here, joined on this lovely Mother's Day by the one and only Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, how are we feeling this Sunday?
Well, I'd be feeling better if I had been less accurate in my prediction for the Red Sox series.
Yeah, that would have been nice if the boys in blue could have proved you wrong, huh?
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, I did predict that they'd win 2 out of 3, but I said I would be less surprised if they only won 1 game than if they swept. So, we got the
Yeah.
second most likely outcome by my reckoning, unfortunately.
Unfortunately so, and we'll talk about this Boston Red Sox series that is now in the books. We are recording this just minutes after the final pitch in the Royals 3-1 loss on Mother's Day. First off, I know we're a day late. Most folks are gonna be listening to this on Monday, but happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I have a lot of great mothers and mother figures in my life, so I greatly appreciate them. And
I view you as a mother figure
oh,
in my
really?
life. Yeah,
Am I
for sure.
am I the maternal one of the podcast?
Absolutely. It's definitely not me.
Well, I'll go change my flair on Royals Review to the matriarch, if you will. Speaking of Royals Review, listen, that's the crew that makes this podcast happen. So much more work. We'll talk about the playback later on in the show, but really got to highlight the community that's over there, the writing, just all the discourse that's over there at Royals Review. It really elevates your Kansas City Royals fandom to the next level. So if you're not already a part of it, what are you doing? Go change that real quick, and you will be better for it. I guarantee you. All right, Jeremy. Anything before we go ahead and hop into Boston?
Not as many pink bats as I thought we'd see today. I thought there would be more pink bats.
Well, maybe. So here's my thought. So I am thinking that maybe there's some unwritten rule in baseball, right, where you can only have so much of a hot or neon color. Okay, and you have like so many square inches, if you will. And the Red Sox just gave all of theirs to their catcher in the hot pink head to toe gear.
Luke Maley was wearing pink also.
That is, valid. I feel like the Red Sox catcher's gear was like hotter. It was pinker than
Maybe
Luke
so.
Maley's. But again, that's all perception. That was about the only positive for the Kansas City Royals today, unfortunately, was that it was Mother's Day. A lot of the Royals players out there were showing their mother some love. Salvy's mom came out and threw out the first pitch today. Threw a strike.
Yeah.
It was impressive, and
As
Salvy
my
did.
dad said, Salvi, she's got Salvy's smile. Oh, wait, no. Salvy's got her smile.
Yeah, that was you could definitely you could see where he gets it from, and it's just a testament to their relationship. Like, this is the first time she's done this, and he's been in the show for well over a decade now, and I'm sure having a mother really helps make that a lot easier because there's a lot of twists and turns in that.
Yeah, it's hard to be a baseball player without a mother.
Well, it's hard to be alive, Jeremy.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making.
Gotcha. I did enjoy on the broadcast, Michael, that they were telling the story about like Michael Garcia and his mother and grandmother and things like that, talking
Yeah.
about like Michael would just sleep through school because he didn't want to be there and he just wanted to play baseball. But
I have been there, done that, buddy.
phew, ain't
Of course,
that the
I
truth?
didn't end up as a Major League Baseball player, unfortunately, so it didn't work out quite as well for me.
Well, it's not really a 1-for-1 success train,
So,
if you will.
so what you're saying is that the kids out there listening to us should not emulate that behavior.
No, not at all.
Okay, just checking.
All right.
There's this commercial that they keep playing on MLB TV. I don't know if you've seen it, Jacob. I don't even remember what it's for, but they show all these kids trying to break in their gloves with various methods, like,
Oh, no.
put a ball in it, stick it under the mattress, wrap it with tape or a rubber band, drive a car over it, and leave the car sitting on top of it. But one of them, the kid puts a ball in the glove, puts it in a toaster oven. And I'm like, you are knowingly or not, you are advocating for children to stick their gloves in toaster ovens. Somebody's house is going to burn down because of this commercial. And you are not at any point saying, like, don't do this. You're just like, look at all these cute kids breaking in their gloves. This one sticks his glove in the toaster oven.
I've heard some wacky ways of breaking in a glove. That is probably the wackiest way that I'll see. And yes, they need to put like a little legal disclaimer on the bottom there. Like, please
But
don't
they've got
attempt at
so many
home.
different methods of breaking in gloves in that commercial. Like, you just omit that one.
Yeah.
Just cut that one out and we'll move on.
Yes.
I have so many problems with so many different. I could do an entire podcast about MLB TV commercial issues,
I feel like we
honestly.
could.
So I'll just stop there. But I promise you I could. So don't test me.
All right, so let's go ahead and get down to the brass tacks of this series. Like you said, Jeremy, Royals dropped the series. They won that first game on Friday in thrilling fashion, but got absolutely blown out on Saturday and Sunday. Again, it was only a 2-run deficit, but it didn't really feel that close after Rafael Devers put the Red Sox on top. That's just the reality of this year's Royals, unfortunately. Which I'm sure is going to be a big point of conversation for the Royals fan base, because we didn't have to think about this very much because the pitching was that good. And I think that you can look at the pitching, you could say, okay, it's a Saturday, you get blown out, it happens. You know, the Los Angeles Dodgers get shut out every now and again. It happens. But then you have another one of these games that's a loss where you see the pitching hold up their side of the bargain and the bats just can't do it. So that's what
The
this Sunday loss boils down to for me.
Yeah, the series, the thing to take away from this series for me, I think, especially if you're kind of a pessimist about the Royals offense, is the Royals scored 4 runs in 3 games, which is, it's amazing they won 1 game
Yeah.
doing that. But worse than scoring 4 runs in 3 games, Jacob, they scored 1 earned run in 3 games.
Yeah.
Because the 2 runs they scored Friday night were that the Manfred man, the
Mm-hmm.
ghost runner on second base, which is not an earned run. And then today, the only run they scored was on Lucas Giolito's interesting decision to try and throw out Drew Waters at third base.
It was
He
a
was
choice.
never going to get him, and he
No.
threw it away, and Waters scored. And I'm still really kind of irritated that the Royals proceeded to not score any more runs that inning.
Yeah, they left like that could have decided the game right there. Like, they had the guys on the bases and they had the momentum and the top of the order coming up.
Yeah.
Like, that felt just like such a big lost opportunity.
Yeah, and it ended up being one because
Yeah.
they only lost 3-1. Of course, that was also, speaking of missed opportunities, they probably should have figured out that you should not pitch to Rafael Devers before the 9th inning or the 8th inning. They finally were like, yeah, maybe let's stop pitching to him. It's not working. Like, we probably should have figured that out before this game started. You could pitch to him in the first inning. You can pitch to him if the bases are empty. If somebody's on, why are you pitching to him? Just don't. I know
Yeah.
Bregman's also been really good, but Devers is lava hot right now,
He is.
and he's apparently taking out all of his anger at Red Sox management on the baseball. So don't throw him one.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think this is getting into the weeds. I do think it's worth noting, though, that number one of the big concerns with Seth Lugo this heading into the season was the long ball. You know, we saw that pop up in 2024. Feel like we saw it in spring training, and we've seen it here and there this season. I'm not laying this loss at the feet of Seth Lugo, but what I am saying is that those home runs were the difference today, and they were a big difference on Saturday. But it's also worth noting that I don't know if it's something in his delivery, but both of those home runs he gave up were inside pitches. They were inside pitches to left-handed batters. Devers ambushed him. You know, first pitch, 92-mile-an-hour four-seam fastball it was belt high. Like, that's the ball you're going to swing at. Meanwhile, that fifth pitch that he had to Willie Abreu, it was a slurve, but it was slow. It hung up there, and he crushed it.
You throw bad pitches in good hitters' wheelhouses, and they're gonna hit it a long way. You could argue that Seth Lugo threw 2 bad pitches today, and he got punished for both of them. And I would probably agree with that. And that's the kind of the issue with the offense. As I'm preparing to finish up my article for tomorrow, what if this is just who the Royals are, which was a much more positive we're going to have a much more positive spin when I was writing it Friday and Saturday. But now after 2 straight losses, I do have to kind of acknowledge the reality of, yeah, okay, inconsistent offense does mean you're going to lose some games. So and listen, I think there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to process. The season is not over.
It's not.
The Royals are still on pace for like 90 wins right now.
Yeah.
And that's after the brutal opening to the year. Like the schedule only gets easier from April. And that includes the upcoming series, honestly, which we'll talk about more in a minute. But so the Royals still have plenty of opportunities. They have opportunities to add at the deadline. One thing that does concern me a little bit, Jacob, I don't know if you saw this. I saw an article that said the Royals considered putting a claim in on Leody Taveras.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have gotten him. I think the Mariners had priority.
They did.
But according to what I read, the Royals decided not to even put in a claim because of the money that was due him. And he's due like $5 million over this year and next or something like that. That's not a lot of money.
It's not.
So if the Royals are going back to the David Glass playbook, then things are going to be bad. Now, if the Royals are like, listen, we didn't want to spend $5 million on him because he sucks. We don't think he's going to be. And that's my argument was I don't know that he's going to actually be any better than Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah.
If you're going to get someone, I want someone I believe is going to be better than Hunter Renfroe. So but that's that there's a lot of that triggers kind of my PTSD for Royals spending a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's a valid concern because that was the brand of Royals baseball that I grew up with, and like that was just so willingly accepted amongst the fan base.
It's been this constant back and forth over the last few years of the Royals are spending more than a lot of other teams that are in similar positions. But they could spend just a little bit more and be an easily good team rather than this team that's like, they're pretty good and they'll probably be, playoff, even if they don't add any other players, they'll probably be competitive in the playoff scene for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But they could have been a team that just owned the Central.
Yeah, they could have. So here's what I think, and this is just Taveras specifically, so take this with a grain of salt. If they went out there and got Taveras, I think that they still would have been in a position where you would want the Royals to add an outfielder at the trade deadline. And so I hope, I'm not saying this is what happened, but I hope what happened was that's how they looked at it. It's like, okay, is he going to be the solution or a part of the solution? Probably not. So then why would we commit financial resources to him if he's not going to be part of the solution? That's just my take.
If the thought process goes, we do have something of a limited budget, we don't want to throw $5 million at this guy who probably isn't an answer, then that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if the fear is that, did the thought process go, we don't want to give anybody $5 million, then that's the problem, and we won't know that until the trade deadline.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right. So let me get my factoids in, Jeremy. Okay, I got to get my Royals factoids in before we move on to the Astros series. Lost back-to-back games on the heel of that 7-game winning streak. So they're 7-3 in their last 10. I know that we have to be happy about that. They are once again on a losing record in those series deciding games this year. That was a big thing last year that we kept hitting on. And right now they're 2-3, which is not great, but that's okay. They, let's see here, snapped a streak of 5 straight series wins, which was their 5th longest run in the wild card era. So unfortunately that comes to a close. They were held to 4 runs or fewer for the 30th time in 42 games. Okay, that's tied with Pittsburgh, who just fired their manager for the most games in Major League Baseball. That is insane. Just think about that. The Chicago White Sox, the Colorado Rockies have scored more than the Kansas City Royals have this year. That is insane. But on the flip side of that, they've allowed 3 runs or fewer in 17 of their last 21 games. And that's 1 behind the Rangers for the major league lead. I don't think a double-edged sword does this justice, Jeremy.
Coming into this game, they had the best ERA in baseball period.
Yep.
I don't know where they stand after this game, and we'll
I'll
have
have
to
to
wait
look.
for all those numbers to update, but they're still very close to the top, because it was like a two-point something, and then they gave up 3 runs in 9 innings.
Hmm.
So that's almost exactly what their ERA had been.
Right.
And then the other thing that I guess I want to point out is, yeah, they lost a series, and that sucks. But this was a winning homestand. They
Yeah.
went 5-2 off of a winning road trip, off of a winning homestand. After that 2-8 road trip, they've had 3 straight sets of games road home that they've won more than they've lost. And it's easy. I think that might be a better way to look at your baseball team than individual series, because even a 3-game series is such a small sample size that it's hard to be like, okay, this is one of the things I was saying. We both thought that they could beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3, and they came closer than it probably feels like right now.
Yeah.
But they also, they could have been swept very easily in this series. They probably couldn't have swept it. The Saturday's game was pretty brutal.
It was.
But if you look at the whole thing, and yeah, sure, okay, well, 4 of those 5 wins were against the White Sox, and the White Sox suck. Well, guess what? Everybody else plays the White Sox too.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else is trying to beat the White Sox, and not everybody else is. The Twins
Yeah.
have played the White Sox 6 times this year. They've lost twice to them already. The Royals took care of business against that bad team. The Red Sox were a bad matchup for them last year. It looks like they're a bad matchup for them again this year. It's unfortunate. We'll see how things go when they get to Boston later this summer. But I know some people are out there ready to give up again after a single series loss, and that just feels like an overreaction to me.
It does. It does. And all the listeners out there know how much I love numbers. I might not be the most well-spoken guy, but I feel like numbers can paint a good picture. And Jeremy, we've spoken a lot on this podcast about, there's a lot of winning expectations with the Royals thanks to the Chiefs. So let's put this in a football context again. This 3-game series is about the equivalent of 17 minutes in any football game. You're not going to go out there for, let's say, a week 5 matchup and the Chiefs are losing midway through the second quarter. You're not going to toss in the rest of the season. That's not how it works. There are more games to go. You can admit the faults of this team, but you better be more willing to admit the strengths, frankly. And you could be critical. As long as you're right, I don't give a shit. You could be critical all you want. Just got to come correct. That's how I view it, Jeremy.
Yeah. Given also that football perspective, they're 42 games into the season now, a little bit more than a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a .571 winning percentage.
Yeah.
That's like if the Chiefs had won at least 2 out of the 4 games, and really probably closer to winning 3 out of the 4 games to start the season.
Yeah.
Chiefs are 3-1 4 games into the season. You're like, well, I'm used to the Chiefs being 4-0 at this point, but you're also not in crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are dozens of other teams in baseball that would gladly be in the position the Kansas City Royals are, both in the standings and both with some of the talent.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I want to point this out before I forget, because this goes back to that Seth Lugo point I was bringing up. So in his last 6 starts, going back to April 14th, he's only allowed 14 runs in 40 innings, which, number one, is insane. But 11 of those 14 runs have come off of home runs, with 8 total home runs. Like, that's just his kryptonite. And that's probably why Seth Lugo fits so well in Kauffman Stadium usually. And Abreu and Devers just absolutely demolished balls. Like, those would be on the concourse and so many other parks around the league. And it happens. It does.
They were no-doubters for sure.
They were.
That brings me back to something I kept saying about Alec Marsh last year. You have to get 2 out of 3. You have to strike out guys, not give up home runs, or not walk guys. Lugo doesn't really strike guys out. He does give up home runs, but he doesn't walk guys. And he strikes out enough, usually.
Yeah.
So, and when he's not giving up home runs, he's not giving up a lot of other base runners. A lot of those home runs this year have been solo shots.
Yes.
I know 4 of those home runs in Yankee Stadium were solo shots. One of the ones today was, so off the top of my head, that's 5 of them. And some of the others may have been too. So as the saying goes, solo shots won't kill you unless you give up a lot of them.
Yeah. And I don't even want to talk about Lucas Giolito at this point. Like we saw so many outings where he would just come in and have such an easy handle on the Royals when he was here in the AL Central. And today was another one of those days. He only gave up 2 hits across 6 2/3 innings, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. And he did, Jeremy, I do think that this is something that is worth talking about. I'm not ready to talk about it yet because I don't have all the data in front of me, but it's a feeling, it's a perception thing that I want to see if it's reality, because it feels like the opposing pitchers they're just easily going through the lineup, right? And meanwhile, the Royals starting pitchers are laboring through the same amount of work. And while the Royals pitchers usually have better results, the opposition is more efficient, if you will. Like Giolito only tossing 88 pitches in nearly 7 innings of work. Like that's a little upsetting.
There seems to be, and again, I don't have the data in front of me, but the sense that I have gotten while watching Royals games this year is that at the beginning of the game, they will battle and they will fight the pitcher, and they'll get him up to 60 pitches in 3 innings, and you'll be like, all right, they're at least working the pitch counts. And then they kind of get impatient. They kind of get a little tilted. And they just start swinging at everything, and then things kind of go off the rails, and suddenly he's gone 8 innings and he's thrown 70 pitches, and you're like, is that even physically possible? And yet it's happened. It's just really wild and unfortunate. And for those of you out there calling for Alex Zumwalt's job, which I told Jacob I didn't want to talk about Alex Zumwalt, but I'm bringing that point up. I feel like you have to. That's an approach issue.
Yeah.
And that's something that seems to be consistent throughout the lineup, outside maybe Jonathan India.
Maybe, but even that flashes up for him every now and then.
Yeah, and it's just the Royals just hit all these weak batted balls that they don't strike out a lot, but they hit all these weak batted balls that turn into outs.
Yeah. And this wouldn't even be, I don't think this would be that big of a deal if even half of those batted balls you talk about went foul. Right, because that's what we're seeing the opposition do to Royals pitchers is their guys are just clearly trying to foul off pitches that are well located and trying to get that one meatball, i.e. those 2 bad pitches that Seth Lugo made today, and that's what cost him. So that's what the opposition is going for. It feels like the Royals aren't doing that. I'll take a deeper look into this and see if that's the reality. But that's just what I'm feeling today.
Another thing that I think I know I saw in one of Bobby's at-bats today, and I wonder if we could dig into those numbers, if we would see it happen more often as well. Bobby watched a really hittable fastball at one point.
He did.
It was just sitting there saying, hit me, hit me, hit me, and he just watched it. And more than other teams, I feel like the Royals are just really watching some hittable pitches and then swinging at some tough pitches.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have the data on that, so don't take it as gospel. We got to look into those numbers. But it's been a little frustrating. And it again goes back to, does Alex Zumwalt deserve to keep his job? And is this something that could be easily fixed? Like, any day now, the Royals will just start actually swinging at those meatballs and laying off the tough pitches.
So, we're talking about numbers here, but I feel like we have to look at Bobby's performance a little bit more today. A 3 strikeout performance from the best hitter in your lineup, and those weren't competitive strikeouts in my opinion. They were. I could tell you black and white on that last strikeout. He was going up there. He was swinging frustrated. Like this was eating at him today. I don't think this was his sharpest day at the plate, obviously. But I don't know if his mentality did him any favors today. And it is unfortunate, but it's also a little bit indicative of how Royals fans feel about this overall lineup. And he's pushing, right now.
Yeah, I think the Royals' offensive struggles have really kind of gotten into his head, especially because it's really encouraged other teams to not throw him strikes
Yeah.
because he will swing. Now, his walk rate is higher this year than it's ever been, but I would have to go look at these numbers, but I would bet money that he's swinging outside the zone more than ever.
Yeah, maybe
And
so.
it really feels like teams are pitching around him, and instead of taking a walk and letting someone else try to make something happen, try to do something on the bases, he's swinging and trying to do it himself. And if everybody's out there trying to do it themselves, it doesn't work.
Well, you know who is doing it himself? Luke Maley, the real MVP of the Royals right now. No, I'm kidding. Although I do have to say he's off to a little, the third catcher on the bench. He's
It's
doing
like
good work.
he can't stay on the roster when Salvi can catch again, but can we afford to not have him on the roster?
At this point.
Also, that jawline. Have we talked about that, Jacob?
Oh my
I can't
gosh,
remember.
the smolder. Yes, we talked about it on
Okay.
Playback, Jeremy.
Can't get over it, man. I can't.
So hey, speaking of Playback, if you don't follow us on social media, you probably missed it. But Royals Review is starting up a Playback channel, and if you've watched Twitch or any live stream, you know that's set up. You're watching a guy play a game, you're chatting along with other people, things like that. Playback is unique in the fact that it's designed for watching sports. Okay, so right now, like I have an MLB TV subscription. I can link that up to Playback and I can watch games with other baseball fans. I watch on other channels, but Royals Review is where we are planting our flag and we want to grow that community over there. So we broadcasted on Friday for the first 6 innings. We had Lux come in. We had a lot of commenters. We really appreciate folks tuning in for that first broadcast. And we'll keep you abreast of when we want to do the next stream. It's still a fluid thing. We're still trying to figure it out, but we want y'all to be there for it because I had a lot of fun. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I had a lot of fun doing it. Did you, Jeremy?
I did. When this was first proposed, I was like, man, that sounds brutal. Like talking, basically doing our version of the Manning cast.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're not the Mannings.
Yeah.
And the whole game, like, I don't usually sit and really focus in on the whole game.
Yeah.
And we didn't do the whole game. We, like you said, we only went through the 6th inning.
Yeah.
But at some point, we might want to do a whole game. Not that one. Gosh, the 12-inning game.
But that would have been so fun for the ending, though.
Oh, for sure. But it's it was a really enjoyable experience, and I'm still trying to convince Jacob that we got to use it to do like some live podcasts at some point. Not with a game, just like we'll just do our normal podcast, but also take questions.
Yeah.
From commenters and viewers.
I'm definitely planning on us doing that later on this season. So the link to our room is what it's called on Playback is going to be down in the podcast description below. I highly suggest you go and follow that, or you can follow Royals Review on social media. Max has been doing a great job of, if we have a stream, they're going to amplify it there. So go follow them on social media. Jeremy, what do you say we go ahead and move on to this Houston Astros series? Are you ready to turn the page?
I am ready to move on to Cincinnati, as the saying goes.
Hey, there you go. So this is a quick little trip down to Texas for the boys in blue, a 3-game set against the AL West's Houston Astros. Jeremy, if you don't mind looking up the opposing pitchers real quick, because I had my page froze up and I lost it. What I can tell you, though, is who the Royals will be sending to the mound as of this recording. So Michael Wacha should be getting the ball Monday evening. Chris Bubich will get it Tuesday evening, and then Michael Lorenzen will go out there for the series finale on Wednesday evening. Jeremy, have you been able to find who the Astros will be sending out there?
Well, I found some of them.
Okay, interesting.
They haven't announced their Wednesday starter yet.
Okay.
So that makes that difficult. But Tuesday, they will be starting Ryan Gusto, a rookie.
Okay.
Who's been in the rotation and in the bullpen. He has a 2.93 ERA. I'm sitting without a keyboard today, so it's hard for me to look up too much information about him. 9 games, 4 games started, 27 hits and 27 2/3 innings.
Okay.
3 home runs, so 1 home run per 9 is pretty good.
Yeah.
29 strikeouts to 8 walks.
That's
pretty good. He seems like he might be a tough customer.
Yeah.
And then they've got Framber Valdez, the
Oh,
staff ace, going on Tuesday.
this is gonna be
But
toughy.
we get the Royals' current staff ace, Chris Bubich, going up
Yes.
against him. And the good news, as far as I'm concerned, is at this point in the season, based on how the games have gone, I don't really care who the opposing pitcher is. The Royals' offense isn't going to score many runs. We just assume that that's the case. What concerns me is the offense. The Astros have not had a particularly good offense this year. They did not have a good offense when the Royals took 2 out of 3 from them at home. And now they're without Yordan Alvarez,
Yeah, he's still on the
who was
IL.
injured. He is their best hitter, and he will not be playing. So the Royals' odds in this series, I think, go way, way up without him around.
Yeah, as they should. And I think that's a good way to look at it, because I'm sure a lot of Royals fans out there were seeing Lucas Giolito's line heading into today. I was like, man, this could be a big day for the Royals, baby. And you know what? One unearned run is all they can muster.
I got to give a shout out to the broadcast team, though. Jeff Montgomery did kind of try to warn everyone last night and early on in this game that, yeah, Lucas Giolito's overall numbers look bad, but he's made 2 starts. The first one was pretty good. The second one was in the rain, and there was all kinds of stuff going on, and it was awful. But was that Giolito being bad, or was that the circumstances being bad? Well, he looked pretty good again today.
Yeah, he did.
The numbers in that case may have been a little deceiving.
Maybe so. I will say, so Houston, they are below league average in runs per game overall. They are still well ahead of Kansas City, but the Astros do tend to perform better at home, just like many teams do around the league. And in their last 3 games, they have averaged 7 runs per game. So that's
not what I want to hear, Jacob.
I can't whisper sweet nothings in your ear all podcast, Jeremy. Okay, it's not how we do things here. I
Weird
am.
thing to say after I called you my mom earlier.
All right, valid. You know, I'm hopeful that pitching can keep them in check. Like I'm still seeing like the black eye that is Saturday on this pitching staff. I still can't like think that doesn't worry me probably as much as it is other fans. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. It happens.
It does. And that was a situation also where, Cole Reagans didn't have a good day, gave up 4 runs in 5 innings, but that's not catastrophic.
Yeah.
But then, because of how Friday night's game went and because of how the Royals bullpen is structured, we saw Angel Serpa for 1+ innings, and then we saw Chris Stratton for 2 innings, and there's 6 more runs on the board. And so the thing is, yeah, that 10-1 loss stings, but it's also, those are 6 runs that they aren't going to give up if they're in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. This makes me oddly feel better for what it's worth. So a lot in the past, we've talked about the expected wins and losses. And one of the big things that anchors that metric is the run differential. Like, okay, if you maintain this run differential across an entire season, how should you be doing? Houston and Kansas City are actually neck and neck in that. So Kansas City has a 8-run differential on the
+8.
Yep, +8. Excuse me, thank you. And Houston has a +15 run differential. So they are right down the middle of the road. Houston's at 14. Kansas City is at 15. So there's that gap isn't as wide. So I'm fully expecting this to be a very competitive series overall. Yeah. I just don't know if this is when the Royals will win right now.
Yeah, and I would say that the Royals are kind of gaming the run differential metric right now, because the Saturday night's game was not the first time that they were like, yeah, we're down 3 or 4. We don't want to use our good bullpen arms. Go on Angel, Chris. Give up a bunch of runs. And that shoots your run differential in bad places, but it doesn't actually affect, they weren't going to win that game anyway. So
yeah.
They win a lot of close games. They lose some close games, but they also lose a lot of stinkers, because once they get down by like 3 runs, they just kind of, for now, they kind of walk away. I'm honestly really surprised. I predicted last night, I did not think Angel Serpa was still going to be on the Major League roster today. I assumed he would be demoted now that Evan Sisk can be recalled, and he's been so bad.
Yeah.
He was not. Hopefully he gets demoted before the demote. I'd say demote him for Jonathan Bolin like they did Sisk, because the Astros have so many righties.
Yeah.
Can't call up Bolin yet. So I don't know what they'll do, but they cannot keep. Listen, they were going to lose Saturday night's game anyway, but also you can replace Stratton and Serpa with Sisk and Bolin, and maybe those guys aren't, lights out. They're not lights out Lucas over here.
Yeah.
But they at least have an opportunity. This is the thing that we're always talking about, right? Is they might be better. They might not be. I don't know that they're better, but they might be.
Yeah.
Give them a chance. And it feels like the Royals are like, we're not gonna, though. You have to definitely be better.
Well, you know who, there is one clear and definite success story that I can point to for that so far this year. Steven Cruz.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, listen, he's not going out there in super high leverage innings. I get it. It's starting to creep up, though. Still hasn't allowed a run this year in 13 appearances. That whip is sitting at 0.6. Okay, that is minuscule. He doesn't get in a whole lot of trouble. He takes care of business, and he did so today against the red hot Red Sox. So I think that if folks don't believe the Royals both should or could do that, I would point to Steven Cruz and say, this is a guy who should be motivating them to try it a little bit more, because he didn't make the roster out of spring training. He pushed his way onto the major league roster.
And let's say you demote Serpa, you cut Stratton, you call up Bolin, you call up Sisk. Oh, well, one of them's really good, one of them's not. Well, good news. Hunter Harvey, hopefully getting healthy, he can come in and take that spot. Both of them are bad. Okay, well, Hunter Harvey takes one of those spots. You can always call on Hel Serpa back up. You're not losing him.
Right.
He's still there.
Yeah.
And then if both of them are good, well, now you've got a really difficult choice to make when Harvey comes back. But those are the kinds of difficult choices you want to make.
Yes, that's a good problem to have. So before we get to our series predictions, I am glad that you brought up Harvey, because he is one of the two major injury updates that Royals fans should be aware of.
Yeah.
So Hunter Harvey, he threw that live BP on May 5th. He felt some soreness after it. The team didn't sound too concerned by it overall. More of a fatigue, just getting back into the rhythm still things. And he played catch again on May 10th with no setbacks, so they'll probably try him again. I assume he's staying in Kansas City. They'll probably try him again for the next home series starting on Friday, maybe, is when we see him. But a guy that we won't see for a little while longer, at least, is Kyle Wright, who got recalled from his rehab assignment, unfortunately, with shoulder fatigue during his May 7th rehab start. So,
yeah.
Again, organization's not too concerned about it. They're going to skip his next one or two starts, but he's continuing to be active, and they'll put him back out on the mound, because he was looking sharp, man. He really was. But that, number one, for all the laurels that the Omaha Storm Chasers pitching staff has rightfully gotten, that Northwest Arkansas starting rotation has been really good this year. I enjoy watching them work.
I haven't. The only numbers I've looked at out of Northwest Arkansas are Jack Caglione's, honestly. Who, by the way, hit another home run.
Yeah, that he did.
10 now?
10. Last I checked, it was 10 and 35 RBI already to start the year.
35.
Yeah, 35. Big old 3-5.
Why is he still in Northwest Arkansas, Jacob?
Well, you know what? I have a reason for you.
Okay.
Because apparently he doesn't know the rules. Okay? He doesn't know the rules. Yeah, he got ejected from a game on Friday night. Did you miss that?
I did miss that.
What? Number one. Well, I'll end with this. So, what it looks like happened, Caglione got a pitch clock violation. He wasn't set up in the box by the amount of time he was supposed to be. And he pointed back to the pitcher, who also wasn't set. It was like, hey, I got set before him. Like, why am I getting this call? Letter of the law, the batter has to be in the box by a certain amount of time, not the pitcher.
Right.
But then I what happened next is confusing because he got up there, the swing and the miss, stepped out of the box. It was maybe like 4 seconds, and the consensus is he said something the umpire didn't like. Didn't turn and say something to the umpire, nothing like that. Umpire took one step back and said, "You're gone." That's it. No warning, no nothing. Brooks Conrad got. I haven't seen Brooks Conrad very frustrated in game action before. This was probably the most frustrated I've seen him.
With the umpire or with Jack, just to be clear?
With the umpire. No one. It was what I
mean,
found.
That sounds like an ump show to me, but
you can, I was about to say, you can go watch it on the Royals Rundown podcast Twitter feed. I shared it there and things like that. And you can see when the umpire ejects Cags, the opposing pitcher like tosses his hands up, like what, like, why? He was acting like it was one of his guys who got tossed out. No one was supporting the Caglione getting tossed out for just something really trivial, it seemed like. And what I was going to say is I would dive into it more, but I said something to that effect on social media. It's like, oh yeah, this seems like the ump show, and the account that tweeted it out blocked me after that for some reason. So,
oops.
Yeah, whoopsies. Apparently, I'm ruffling feathers, Jeremy, because that's what I am.
Jack's not the only person who doesn't know the rules, Jacob.
Apparently so. But no, I know Jim Bowden's opinion doesn't count for much in 2025. But, I mean, he's joining the, hey, what the heck is Jack doing in AA at this point? He's saying that multiple opposing team scouts are saying he is MLB ready right now.
You know what my response to that is, Jacob?
What is it?
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Hey, I like it. You're not wrong there. My favorite version of that is every now and then, even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I like it.
Yeah, it's speaking of Jim Bowden being wrong, he suggested that one of the trades he would most like to see in baseball is that the Royals should send Ben Kudrna to the Angels for Jorge Soler.
Yeah, I saw that. I rolled my eyes at that one.
What the Royals need is an underperforming veteran outfielder who can't play defense. And they should give up their top pitching prospect other than maybe Noah Cameron. It depends on how you rank him. Noah Cameron's obviously more MLB ready. That because the Royals don't have any underperforming veteran outfielders who can't play defense.
None at all. It's really a team mold. Yeah, Jorge had a great run in Kansas City. We'll leave that in the past. I'm not going to advocate for that in the present. All right, Jeremy, we're getting a little off track here. Why don't we go ahead and give in our series previews or predictions, excuse me. And if you have anything that you're watching for in this 3-game set, please let our listeners know. After you.
So yeah, it's tough going on the road in Texas. The Royals just don't do well in Texas. Something about Texas. Too close to Bobby's home. Maybe he's going out partying every night. I'm kidding. I don't think he's doing that. But so I think the Royals are going to take 1 out of 3 here. I would to give you kind of a similar prediction as last time. I think I would be, and I hate to say this, I think I would be less surprised if they got swept than if they took 2 out of 3.
Wow.
I would be stunned if they swept the Astros in Houston. Yeah. It's possible. I feel like it's more possible for them to sweep the Astros in Houston than it was for the Red Sox to sweep the Royals in Kansas City. Though, for all of these comparisons, that's a lot of like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's where my prediction is. I'm watching. I don't know what I'm watching, Jacob. I'm watching the pitching. I want it to continue to be good. I want to see Chris Bubich keep that ERA under 2. And I want to see. I felt like the Royals were starting to kind of break out of some slumps. We were seeing Salvi get some hitting done. We were seeing Vinny get some hitting done, and everybody kind of went back into a slump this weekend.
Yeah.
Is it the Red Sox, or is it? Oops, more slumps.
Oops, I spilled the slumps.
Oops, all slumps.
Yes, there it is. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I agree with a lot of your points there, but one thing that I do disagree with is I still believe that the Royals will take this series. I think that they will take it. That they will take 2 out of 3. But the biggest reason
I hope you're right and I'm wrong, for sure.
The biggest reason behind that is, number one, I'm putting blind faith and loyalty into our Lord and Master Chris Bubich in 2025.
I mean, that's the smart call for sure.
Does that track for the podcast, Jeremy?
At this point, I don't think I can even argue that he's not the staff ace. Cole Reagans has the worst ERA on the team.
Yeah, he does.
And if it's not Cole Reagans, it's Chris Bubich.
Yep, precisely.
Who a lot of people didn't want in the starting rotation before the season started. I just
wanted him to stay in the bullpen.
All, and I know I'm not the only one who did want him in the rotation, but there were a lot of people who were like, but he was so good in the bullpen. We have to save him in the bullpen.
I was one of them.
You're wrong.
I was one of them, and I have never been more happy to be proved wrong, Jeremy. But I am one thing that I'm watching for that is going to decide Monday night's game, I think, is Michael Wacha. So Michael Wacha has done well against these Astros, not just the uniform, but the guys in the uniforms. He's done well against them, sure, but he does struggle on the road, and it's been a theme last year. It's been a theme this year. So interested to see like what version of Wacha we get. I think that he's exceeded my expectations this year already. And so he's the guy that I'm really watching Monday evening to see how he does and approaches the Astros. And luckily he gets to set the tone for the Royals against Houston. I mean, how different would this fan base feel about the guys going on the road if you go out there and you see a fiery Michael Wacha go out there and just have a quality start against him? I'd be happy.
Can I just give you a quick bit of Michael Wacha analysis?
Yes.
So to start the season, Michael Wacha was good first time through, usually the second time through, and then it's like he hit a wall.
Yeah.
For the last couple of starts, that wall has not been there.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be watching. Has the wall been removed, or did he just dodge it a couple of times and he's going to run face first into it again?
I would hope not, but we'll see.
Of course, the Royals didn't have to use any of their good relievers. They used Steven Cruz, but Lucas Erceg, Carlos Estevez, John Schreiber, a lot of guys. Daniel Lynch did pitch today.
Yep, he did.
But they should have some options based on how few relievers they used yesterday, how few relievers they use today. So if he does hit a wall, be ready to yank him, but we'll see.
Yep, that we will. Alrighty, folks, if you have your own predictions or if you want to say, hey, you're right, hey, you're wrong, best place to do that is on social media. Our links are down in the podcast description below, or you can do so over at royalsreview.com. Just join the comment community and make your voice heard. Jeremy, I'm not tracking anything else that we should be talking about for the Royals. Let's go ahead and get on to our review, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. I'll go ahead and start us off real quick. And you know what? I had it and I lost it. Oh, here it is. Review Marvel Rivals. Okay.
Oh, you're playing it now, huh?
So I played it. Yes, I finally uninstalled it this weekend. Yeah.
Uninstalled it?
I did uninstall it, Jeremy.
What's wrong with you?
Primarily the playing community, unfortunately.
I don't talk to them.
Yep. So that was that
I
really
have all that stuff turned off. I just hear you might as well all be computers. I don't care.
So that's what really turned me off to the game. And I know it probably sounds a little hypocritical because I did play Call of Duty for years. Halo.
You ever play League of Legends?
No, I never played League of Legends.
I played League of Legends, so I am a little bit. League of Legends is the most toxic community in gaming, or at least it was when I played it. So
I imagine not much has changed.
Nothing is as bad as that. So
there you go.
Call of Duty is yeah. Anyway,
Rivals, I would say, in my experience, has been the most toxic player base that I've experienced, and unfortunately it just blends a lot of the worst aspects of fandoms. You have comic book fans, you have team-based game fans, and it just got to the point of I'm not having fun playing this. I should be having fun playing this, but you have to rely on your teammates so much. If I'm playing it, I'm talking, or I try to talk at least.
That's your first mistake, buddy.
Yep. That was my mistake.
Said, you got to turn that voice chat off immediately.
So
I do not want to hear anything any of you have to say. And I'm playing on console, and I have it turned off so I don't do I don't play versus PC. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody has a keyboard. If you want to type it, you got to go through with the thumbsticks.
Ugh.
You're not you're not sitting. I'm not reading any of your nonsense.
So I did enjoy the game itself. The folks I was playing with, that's what I didn't enjoy. So I downloaded the trial for MLB The Show 25 today. Gonna get my feet under there and see if I can finagle my way into owning the game before too long. But
It's an interesting experience this year.
oh boy, I never like hearing that, Jeremy.
The single player experience in some ways is better than it's ever been with
Yeah.
Diamond Quest,
Okay.
but the card flipping is brutal this year, so I've had a really hard time. Like, I don't have, like last year, any card I wanted, I had. And this year I've had to really struggle to get all the cards I want. And so many of the cards are tied to multiplayer, whether it's the multiplayer program or the weekend classic, which is happening right now, the second weekend classic. And I am not a competitive enough multiplayer player to enjoy that or to succeed at it.
Gotcha.
So usually what I've done in the past is played enough of the multiplayer and mostly focused on the single player, and then taken my stubs and bought the multiplayer cards that I wanted. And I can't afford to do that this year. But the Diamond Quest stuff is a lot of fun, and yeah, there's still good stuff to be had in there for sure. They really need to expand the Diamond Quest. Like, its strength is in the variety of gameplay that you do during Diamond Quest, but it still gets old after a while. They need more variety.
Gotcha.
I wish they would come out with like a Diamond Quest board per week instead of it's been once every couple of weeks. I think
gotcha.
that would get it where it needs to be.
Well, just let me go and hop in there, and I'll go and create Brett Saberhagen and see how that goes. All right, Jeremy, over to you. Is that your review for this episode?
My review this week was going to be the importance and understanding of the variety of meditation.
Okay.
So and I know this is how I've thought in the past too, when I've thought meditation, it's sitting quietly and thinking certain thoughts or going om, all that stuff. And that can be meditation. And if that works for you, great. You should do that. It does not work for me. When I try and sit quietly, I lose my mind. So I've found other ways of meditating. Sometimes and I have to mix it up. I can't even just pick one other way of meditating. So sometimes I listen to some music, some music that I find calm, like some video game soundtracks like Kingdom Hearts or Trails in the Sky or Final Fantasy. Sometimes it's playing a phone game that is just requires enough of my focus that I'm not thinking anything outside, but not difficult. So my favorite go-to right now is Cafe Panic. And so just find whatever works for you as far as meditation goes, but it can really help you when you're struggling with mental stuff, which is a lot of people out in the world.
Yeah, that's the truth. I know Honey will love to hear this, but I have been wanting to try like the guided meditations.
Yeah, and for some people, those are really good. And it's a great place to start for sure. Check it out, see if it works for you.
Yeah.
But I think what I want to convey is that that's not where meditation ends.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to look at it. Alrighty, Jeremy, thank you for the review, but we are going to go ahead and get on out of here with the rest of our Mother's Day. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast. Check out the links in the description below for everything you need to know from the team, whether it be Playback, royalsreview.com, or our social media links. But I am Jake Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today, and until next time, go Royals!
Chris Burbage belongs in the bullpen.